Okay, I'm back. My husband is doing the dishes while I roll out the bottom crust. Now, this step is only if you're going to do peach slices. You do not need to do this step for the peach pie because you're putting it in a round tin. When you roll out your pie dough for a round pie, peach pie, if you're going to do an 8, a 9, or a 10-inch pie, roll it out, fit the bottom in, prick the bottom of the crust with a fork. You're not going to do that part for the peach slices. However, you do need to butter the cookie sheet. The bottom of the cookie sheet, you need to grease the pan. Otherwise, what's going to happen is your dough, your pie dough, is actually going to stick to the cookie sheet and you're not going to get a clean slice out. You don't need to do that though for a round pie thing. That will actually come out much easier than if you're doing it on a sheet pan. So that now that I got that instruction out of the way, let's roll out the bottom dough. And again, you're going to need flour. And it kind of depends on how much flour you need. I usually start with maybe 3/4, not 3/4, a third of the cup of flour. And I have it kind of neatly tucked away. You're going to want to flour your work surface. And you're going to want to put your dough. And your dough should be chilled. It should be much easier to work with. I'm just going to sprinkle some of the flour both on top as well as on the bottom. My rolling pin, and you're just going to start rolling this out. Now you can definitely beat your dough down. Now if you're doing this in the round, you're going to keep it circle. Since I'm doing square, I'm going to do it a little bit different when I roll it out. And if your dough has properly chilled, it should now be a lot easier to work with. And you are going to want to turn it somewhat and make sure that it rolls nicely. If it starts to crack, and I'll show you where it's cracking on me. It's cracking right here and a little bit over there. You just want to kind of push those together and roll them out. This is obviously way too thick and it's not big enough to go in the sheet. And sometimes what you need to do is you just need to turn it a couple of times, or at least I do. That's why, like I said, doing pie doughs are not my favorite thing to do because I don't have the patience to do this. But what we're going to do is we're going to work through this. And I probably should have put a damp cloth on the bottom. And I'm going to actually not soak a cloth, but I'm going to put a damp cloth on the bottom so that my cutting board doesn't roll all over the place. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pound this down. We're going to turn it. Turn it again. Turn it again. And we're just gonna work and you don't want to get your crust so thin that you can see through it or that it really rips. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make it long enough to fit in your cookie sheet. I gotta get rid of this excess flour. I'm gonna bring down to my actual board so I can roll this out. And if your crust doesn't roll out, especially if you're doing a slice, pie is easier because you can put your pie dish basically on the crust, and you can see if you've made it long enough or short enough. And you do need to put some elbow grease into this. And it takes a bit of practice to roll out a good dough. Like I said, mine might look like it went through war and lost the war, but it'll still taste good.
Ice.
Ice, move.
Move.
And I'm getting there. I am getting a little bit of tears. And what I do is I usually try to just put those and see if I can roll those into the crust. Anywhere that it's tearing, I just put the crust back and try to roll it and see if it'll roll flat for me. Sometimes it'll do it and other times it won't. So I'm starting to get there. And you just have to be patient with the dough. And like I said, this didn't have quite enough water, and some areas are thinner than others. And I'm just gonna try to get this to go in. I might even have to go like that and hope that it So let me know in the comment section if you guys have trouble with doughs like I do, or if you guys do really good pies when you make pies. What kind of pies you guys like to make? If you do a peach or an apple or a strawberry, rhubarb. And feel free to share recipes. My husband probably shouldn't be eating pie, period, but you know, in the summer, it's nice to have fruit-flavored pies for him to eat. And they're much better than store-bought pies. Now, I'm going to see if this is big enough to fit in. And it's going to be close. Like I said, the bottom crust is not going to look great, but it's going to be edible. Okay, and I probably need to thin the bottom of this off. Let me put this over here for a minute. Okay. Now you might be wondering, you might be going, holy smokes, that's a long pie dough. How the hell do you get it in the tray? Well, you pray. You pray about it for about 5 seconds. Sometimes if I do this and roll it, if it doesn't stick to the cutting board, which this one didn't, thank God, but it is ripping a little bit, I'm able to do it like this. And then I can gently lift it and sort of roll it out. And you can see it didn't quite fill, and I'm going to turn you guys over. It didn't quite fill this, but I have enough overhang that I can actually push in there. Like I said, my pie doughs may not be pretty, but they taste good when they come out. Huh? Oh, my husband's in one of his moods today for some reason. So ideally, this is not what you really want to do for when you do a slice. And hopefully when I do the apple slices, this will look a little bit better. But what I'm going to do, because you want to have a little bit of an overhang for when you put your top crust on. But you know what? Sometimes you have to say the hell with being dainty, and you just have to do the best that you can do. Yeah, my husband says it all tastes the same, and whether it's a gorgeous pie or a half ugly pie, it still goes into the same place when you're done eating it and you digest it. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking enough of the excess and I'm filling in the bottom of the pan with the crust. And some of this may be thicker than it should in a place, but we're going to make the best of it. You basically don't want any metal showing if you're going to do it in this kind of a form. And I probably should have maybe made this a little bit thinner, rolled it out a little bit thinner, but you know, we do the best that we can. So that's your bottom layer. Now, what I told you, you guys don't need to fork it. I was wrong. You do definitely need to fork this one because you don't want it to curl on you. And unfortunately, oh, I do have a fork. This may be the one that my husband sampled with. And when I say fork, all you're going to do is you're just going to prick it so it looks like that. And you're going to do the... Ooh, I dropped you guys. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you run out of room. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry you guys got cut off. I dropped the phone. It went all over the place. What I meant to say is you're going to fork your dough like this. And you're going to do this both for the slice as well as the pie. You're just going to fork it all over. They don't have to be on top of each other. What that lets your crust do is it lets enough air into your dough so that you don't have a problem. It also allows a little bit of the liquid from the peaches not to absorb too much. So I'm just gonna do that. Now I probably would have been better off showing you how to do a regular pie versus the peach slice, but I thought I'd get fancy, and of course you saw what that got me. That got me into a huge mess. So now that that's done, put that off to the side. Now what you need to do is focus on your top crust. And that's going to be the hardest one to do, because now you need to make sure it is not only long enough and wide enough for your peach slices, but thin enough because you need to make air holes in it. So I'm going to go get that one out of the refrigerator. I'll be right back. And this is the one that we did not add more water to it because it has a lot of butter in it. So I'm praying to God that this one will hold together. And I'm looking like I'm going to be fighting with this one, but we'll see. Hopefully this one doesn't give me as much trouble. You okay, Edward? What happened? Where'd you fall? You leaped. Sorry, little Chihuahua leaped, and I'm like, wasn't ready for that. And I'm like going, here comes the Chihuahua that's flying down the stairs. Okay, so again, what you're going to do is you're going to flour your board. I'm kind of just... Yeah, this is definitely going to be flaky. Now, whether or not this is going to be too flaky is another story. Okay, now, let's see if this'll actually roll. Well, it's rolling. Now the thing is no, it's this is crumbling. It doesn't have enough water in it. Okay, so we're gonna cheat just a little bit. Like I said, this is a learning experience. Do I need to let this one rest? Well, I should, but I'm not going to because this is just a top. What I'm going to do is add a little bit of water to this, and I'm going to treat it as if it was Play-Doh. Okay. Now, anybody that's a professional baker that is going to be viewing this is for the home cook that makes a lot of mistakes. So, no judging me on the pie dough. I said earlier, mine don't look professional because they're not. And I again, this is why I don't do doughs that often, is I just don't have the patience for this. All right, this is starting to hold together, and you should never knead your dough, just so you know. It will make it tough, but like I said, this is going on the top of the crust, and I'm okay with that. If it's a little bit tough, it's a little bit tough. I just need it to hold together so I can roll the darn thing out. Okay. But if you don't try, you don't learn. That's my philosophy. So, all right, let's see how this is going to roll out now. Lacey, stop that. Lele. Yeah, I got to bring food up for the dogs. Okay, yeah, this is going to roll out a little bit easier. And y'all are probably wondering, well, why don't you just make a peach pie versus a peach slice? And you probably are going, he's an idiot for not doing that. Well, you're probably right. I probably should have just made a pie versus a slice. But I thought I'd be cute, and I had enough peaches. By the way, if you have rings, you might want to take them off because you're going to get dough all over your rings. And unfortunately, my diamonds are covered in dough, but we'll work on that later. Jasper, my little chihuahuas love to walk across my feet while I'm doing stuff, and it's like going, okay, they're in an inconvenient area. So yeah, this is rolling out much nicer, and I'm going to show you how it does. Like I said, I didn't let this relax when I added a little bit more water to it. And, you know, sometimes you have to do what you have to do to get the job done. And I'm not going to scold myself for doing that. Because if you scold yourself too much, then you're not gonna have a good dough. I've got a stupid fly that likes to hang around. do have a little bit of dough that just does not want to. Just a little bit of flour to this. I'm having some problems with this wanting to stick, and then it wants to roll up on to the it really wants to roll up on the rolling pin. Now, you might be asking, how did I learn to do this? Well, my grandmother made a lot of pies when I was growing up, and I used to watch her. She never actually taught me how to do pie dough. Matter of fact, when I was a kid, she tried to scoot me out of the kitchen because she didn't want me to get into trouble while she was trying to cook. And unfortunately, my mom passed away at such an early age that I never got to learn from her. And I did say I did go to cooking school, which I did do. However, I left pastry school just before they started doughs like this. I know how to do French breads, Italian breads, sandwich breads. I can do all of that, but I never learned how to do pie doughs. And that's the one sad thing that I have, is that I never learned how to master doing nice doughs such as this. And that was a little bit of butter, so I put a little bit of flour down here. And I tried to YouTube. I do watch a lot of other people's YouTube channels, and I tried to find easier ways for me to understand how pie dough works. And unfortunately, I have yet to find one that's foolproof. Even Martha Stewart, and I did say I love Martha Stewart, it's cooking videos, and I can follow hers kind of good, but sometimes it's just hard to follow somebody else's way of cooking, not being used to doing it. So I'm just cleaning out my nails. I have a lot of dough underneath my nails, and if you have long nails like I do, and mine are fortunately my own nails. They're not fake tips. They're actually mine that I'm growing. So they get some stuff underneath it. They get the dough underneath it, which is the pain to take out. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to stop the video because we're at 11 minutes. I'll be right back. I'm going to pick this up.